What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What is up? How are y'all doing today? Today's a tough day. Tough day. How are y'all doing? I am your host, Emmanuel Eman Noisette. And if you're here, we are here to talk about Xmen 97, episode 5. To say that this episode was heavy is probably an understatement. I'm still processing, I had to watch this episode at least 3 times, maybe 4, just so I can, do the breakdown and everything with you guys tonight, but it didn't get any easier. Like every time I went through this, it was tough. But just in case you're new here, welcome to the channel. We are going to talk about episode 5 of Xmen 97. We're going to go through it. No, I'm not going to catch every single Easter egg. This is not going to be a 1010% breakdown, but we are going to cover the episode. We will react to the episode. And if you'd like to participate in the chat, you could do it on any one of the platforms that you're watching, but you'll have extra fun if you come on over to the YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button. It is absolutely free, and you can be a part of you can become a member of the EFAM and join in with the rest of the gang that are chatting away. So there's that. Also, just in case if you did not know by now, we will be going through spoilers in the entire episode. So you see the warning right here. If you have not seen the episode, please go away. And I say that with all the love and respect. Just go away. Go watch the episode, then come on back, and then you can go ahead and watch on the replay. And shout out to the replay gang as well. Or if for whatever reason you don't care about spoilers, welcome. So before we get started, let's just see who is here, who made it out nice and early. We'll give some quick shout outs, and of course we'll also go through some of the comments that you guys have thrown in for support, but I will do that at an appropriate time, so don't feel like you're getting skipped or ignored. I'm just going to save them for when they're appropriate. So let's see. Shout out to Brother John. What is up? Thank you so much for being here. Screaming Monkey, how you doing? Good to see you. Felicia, good to see you as well. My man Pierre is back. What is up? Coop the Bully, good to see you again. Eric, what's up? Good to see you. Price Tag, how you doing? Kid Mellow, good to see you as well. Talented One, thank you for making it out. Treese, good to see you again. Thank you so much. We got the homie Zia Latrice coming through. My man Didier, what is up? Come on, wouldn't be alive without Ms. Harper. Thank you so much for being here and holding it down with the Mod Squad as well. Corey, how you doing? Good to see you. The homie Rhonda is back in action. Thank you so much. My man Nelson is in the building. What is up? Let's see. Ewa, hello. Good to see you as well. Let's see. Who else do we have? I saw the final boss is in the building. What's going on, brother? Good to see you. Holding it down. We got Tracy back in here. Listen, I think we all shook it. Okay, we all shook it. All of it. Still, Kristen Pratt, how you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for holding it down with the Mod Squad. We got some more of y'all in here with a leave. Thank you so much for being here. Philroy, what is up? Good to see you. My man Sean is back too. Good to see you too. My man Dwight, what is up? Good to see you, man. Thank you so much for being here. Peace, thank you so much for being here. Kristen, what is up? Let's see who else I saw. Eric, thank you so much for being here. Hey, shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much, Degenerate. Tyra, good to see you. Who else do we have? Black Doctor Strange, good to see you. My man Lou is back. Always a pleasure. Rebecca, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. We got the movie blog in here, y'all. Make sure y'all go give that man a subscribe right there. That's my own website that I write at as well. Wavy Jazzy Jeff, good to see you. Art of Erica, thank you so much for being here. Sweet November, good to see you. Fighting the Evil, what's up? Hey, shout out to Detroit, appreciate y'all. Matthew, what is up? Good to see you. Who else I saw? Mike Conley, good to see you. Mr. Icon, good to see you as well. We got my man Just My Opinion Reviews. Make sure y'all go subscribe to him as well. Mr. Boone, good to see you. Jordan, man, it has been a minute. Thank you so much for being here, man. Good to see you again on my square. Appreciate you. Who else I see? I don't know how to say this. Kalag. I'm a Kalager. I don't know any other way to say it. I hope that I said it right. Thank you so much. Eugene, what's up? Brandon, good to see you. Jessica, I appreciate you for being here. Tiffany, what's up? Jimbo, thank you for being here. And shout out to everyone that's making it out. Guys, I already know we have a lot to talk about. So we will absolutely be getting into this. Shout out to Gambit's Beignets. Thank you so much. Hey fam, right back at you. And shout out to Anthony. Thank you so much, Anthony. We'll get to your comments a little bit later. All right, so we might as well just jump right into this. So first and foremost, in case you have not known, we do get into one thing. If you have been paying attention, is that the opening credits do come with some sort of purpose, right? And that purpose, from what we can tell, is that you will get a taste or a little preview of what's going to happen in this episode, or what characters could be important in this episode. So there were a couple that showed up. The biggest one I think that we saw was definitely Cable. If you recall, Cable has been a fixture in this whole franchise, and in the old series as well. In the previous episode 3, I want to say, we did finally get to see how Cable was birthed. We found out that he is actually the son of Madeline Pryor and Cyclops, when they had their whole little thing going on. And then we saw that, Madeline gave Nathan, or Cable, to Bishop to go live in the future to fight off the virus, and that's why he came back. So yeah, even though we've seen Cable ever since the old, I want to say season 1, episode 2 or 3, he's been a constant presence coming in. So this kind of little shout out here is just to let you know that he is still on the way. And this was also kind of interesting. I mean, I don't see too much in this right now, but the Phoenix was something that was mentioned in the episode. They're showing it now in the comics. I believe, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the Phoenix does come up somewhere in the Genosha storyline. I don't know if they're going to copy that exactly or if they'll adapt it, change some things up, but don't be surprised if we get the Phoenix to come back sooner or later. But anyway, we open up the episode where the X-Men are being interviewed now. And they're basically allowed to get their side of the story out there. And you see my man Beast out there, got on a nice little suit. You know what I'm saying? I see the handkerchief. Okay, I see you, bro. Got the ascot, if I'm not mistaken. Is that the ascot too? Now keep in mind, as you see here, there is the title here of the episode, and it's called Remember It. And just so you know, and we'll talk about it as well, Remember It has multiple meanings in this case, right? So in one case, you have the theme of remembering things, and you're going to see a lot of different characters remembering things in the past, and it's kind of an ongoing theme of, do you hold on to that memory? Does that memory define you? Or do you move on from that memory? Like, what do you do? But just kind of hold that in mind, that it's a constant theme throughout this episode. And of course, we know this has been a catchphrase for Gambit. My boy Gambit, he would always say, the name's Gambit, remember it. He would always say that. So it's really fitting that they found this as the title. But yeah, as Beast is going on and he dropping, some of the lines and everything in the interview, old girl was like, well, it's so nice to see a renowned scientist like you, Mr. McCoy, Dr. McCoy. And he said, wait a minute, hold on, wait, well, Blue can blush too, and they go on, they keep on doing their interviews and everything. And as this is going on, this is what I wanted to point out to y'all here. This is so subtle, but this is why I love this show. Just these little subtle things. They caught my man Cyclops waking up. Now, the first time I saw this, I was like, why Cyclops got like a whole different pair of shades on? No, I think this is actually for him to go to sleep. These are like his nighttime shades or whatnot, and it's actually pretty interesting because not only do they show the fact that he needs these nighttime shades to sleep, but my man is also on the couch. Y'all remember, him and Gene ain't getting along too well. They're not having the best of times. It was very awkward when a whole clone showed up and married him and had a baby by him, and then Gene came home, and things have been rough. So I thought it was pretty cool that they showed this, that he's been sleeping on the couch all this time, while they've been having this riff or whatnot. So that was cool. And by the way, imagine Cyclops. Do y'all know anybody, and some of y'all might have this too, have you ever had somebody sleep and their eyes be open while they sleep? One of my kids does that, and it's creepy as hell. I hate it. Ever since there was a baby, they started doing that. They just be sleeping with like one eye open or something. I'd be like, what is wrong? Close the eye. Imagine if that was Cyclops. This is what he has to have that on, because who knows what his eyeballs be doing at night. So I love the fact that they showed us just this little detail right here, because this could be a dangerous situation. But I'm glad they got on top of that with the small details. But again, even though we're going through this whole interview, they're kind of, capturing the fact that things are not very good with a lot of the X-Men, especially with Cyclops and Jean. Then we go off to the Blackbird, and Gambit is like, yo, this is taking forever. And Magneto said, listen, if the Blackbird had a malfunction, let's just say you the only person here that's going to have an issue with gravity. Just saying. Magneto, why you got to be like this? Why are you like this? He did not have to be so eloquently petty by basically saying, hey, man, didn't nobody ask you to be the third wheel, and you can't fly. That's all he really was saying with all that talk. He ain't have to play my man Gambit like that. My man Gambit and yes, he wanted to be a third wheel because he don't like this whole idea of you and Rogue. Let him be the third wheel. But he ain't have to play my man like that. But anyway, they head over to Genosha, and Genosha, if you recall, is the place that just got their rights, and they're recognized by the UN after the big tragic situation that happened, at the UN site with the terrorist attack. So now this city is really built as a safe haven for mutants. And what I love about this is the fact that you have two pillars, one for Professor Xavier and one for Magneto. And, that to me was just really, really cool, because even when you go deeper into the city, you can see different things here. Let me get this out your way for you guys. But you can see things like Mutants Matter, which is basically a play off of Black Lives Matter. They went and said Magneto is right. But then you also see Welcome X-Men. And what this does is it really is just here to show that even though both of these men have two different ideologies, they both have the same dream, but just different methods. And what I love about it is the fact that it shows that both of these can coexist, even if people have different ways of accomplishing that dream. Again, it really goes back to the whole Martin Luther King versus Malcolm X. Yeah, they might have had different approaches, but they still can coexist in the same place because they're trying to achieve the same goal. So I love the fact that we got that. We got to see different sides of Genosha. You're starting to see other mutants that were there. We're seeing Leech again, the Morlock. I think the girl with the pink hair is Pixie. I believe the pink guy is Glob. I'm not sure what the other brown skin girl is, or what her name was. Maybe somebody would know in the comments. But this was also something that stood out to me that I really like. You see here that they have flying school, obviously for mutants that need to fly. They've got an arcade there, which is a nice little callback, because one of the first episodes we saw was Jubilee when she was in an arcade game, in the arcade area, and that's where she first encountered the Sentinels. So this place is really trying to be a safe haven for them in that capacity. But this other thing is probably what stands out the most, and it's that Sharp Beauty ad where it says, finally, for nails, scales, and horns. Now, in case you missed it, I've been trying to say this for a long time that like, and I think a lot of us understood this, is that the X-Men have always been a representation for any minority or group that has been discriminated against or oppressed in whatever capacity. So this could have a lot of different connections to the Black community, to the LGBTQ community, etc. And this whole scene right here, just this clip right here, I think that it's not. I think this is what the showrunner, Beau, the head writer, he was talking about how as he was growing up, and he came out as LGBTQ, and he was talking about how he had the experience of going to Supercuts and they didn't know how to cut his hair. Now, now, first of all, I empathize with his struggle. But my man, I'm assuming he looks like a Black man. I don't understand why he thought Supercuts was the place to go in the first place. I'm just saying, as a Black man in the Black culture, you usually go to the shop. You go to the barbershop. Every Black person usually knows what a barbershop is. So again, I'm not disqualifying his struggle. I'm just saying, growing up in a Black neighborhood, maybe he didn't grow up in a Black neighborhood, I don't know. I just don't understand how you didn't know what a barbershop was. Why? Supercuts would have never been the first place. But again, that's still a real situation. And it's not just with men in the barbershop. This also happens with Black women. Black women can't always just go to normal hair salons. So they have to go somewhere that can cut ethnic hair. So this is the same thing that they're kind of trying to distribute or display here, where you have mutants that are they can even get their scales and horns done, so this is one of those things that is showing the parallel between mutants, minorities, discrimination, etc. Now, as we go there, we find a familiar face, and it is Madeline Pryor. She ended up being here to also help out with the whole relations at Genosha. And this was something that was a really nice thing to see her find some purpose, because we saw her leave off and we didn't know where she was. But if I'm not mistaken, in the last episode, didn't Jubilee say that Jean and Cyclops were off at Genosha doing stuff? But now it's Madeline? I don't know. Okay, maybe that was a different trip. I don't know. Whatever. But it's nice to see Madeline got some business and she doing some positive things, right? So not only do we see Madeline, but we see Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler, fan favorite. I don't know about y'all, but ever since X2, Nightcrawler has gone down as one of the greatest, X-Men mutants out there, with that amazing intro in X2. Still one of the best scenes in a X-Men mutant superpower comic book movie. But what I loved about this, they really showed Nightcrawler in the best way possible, because let me tell you something. If I had the ability to just disappear and teleport from places, I would be the fattest mutant ever. Why? Because I wouldn't get a lick of exercise. Every single thing I need, poof. Oh, there it is. Where's the remote? It's over there. Poof. I got it now. Oh, what's that? A sandwich? Poof. Oh, here I am. Hung. Let me tell you something. This was perfect. The way they just had this man going back and forth, I absolutely loved it. But he's also here with a purpose, and that is to help out with the faith groups at Genosha. Because keep in mind, that is still something that is very integral to Nightcrawler's background. He does come from a monastery. They're the ones that basically took him in when he was abandoned by his mama, Mystique. So he is a very faith driven character and very religiously minded. So what else? They were so while Gambit and Rogue were out there, she's taking in the sights and looking at Genosha, and she said something kind of interesting. She started gushing and she was like, "Ooh, this is exactly how he said it would be." And Gambit was like, "Who are you talking about? The professor? You talking about the professor, right? You right? The professor, right?" And she was like, Yeah. Yeah, Charles. Yeah. Yeah. Even though we knew who she was talking about. We knew who she was talking about. She was talking about Magneto because Magneto was the one that had always talked about having a place just for mutants. And this is literally his dream come true. And she is starting to see that dream in reality. But she ain't have to lie to my man Gambit. I'm tired of the disrespect of Gambit. I'm just saying. My man had the whole look on his face like, you're talking about the professor, right? Right? Anyway, we start going through and we see that clearly the inflation is through the roof here, which is kind of wild to me because they were saying that, like, okay, starting up a new nation, a new everything is going to be hard. I get that. But some of y'all are poor. How are the Morlocks who lived in the sewers, who finally made it to the east side, how are they supposed to afford a $10 apple? I mean, if the apples are $10, how much is everything else? Golly, don't go to a movie theater. You know they can't go to a movie theater. That's $100 just to walk in. Oh my gosh. But listen, them Genosha prices are definitely through the roof. We're not gonna talk about the rent because I'm sure the rent is also too damn high. But as we see and we go through the city, we also see that we have monuments of Magneto. And as Gambit would say, like, he's basically the MVP, around here. And again, I think that this just goes back to the fact that Magneto has always been about his people, and his people are the mutants. So they respect him and love him for that. We go on. There are some other mutants here. This is Exodus. We also see the multiplying man, or whatever his name is. He was in X Factor before. Exodus was, I want to say, he was a follower of Magneto in the comics. And I think he followed Apocalypse as well. But from what I understand, this dude is like stupid powerful. But he out here just doing the Casper slide. So that's cool. Whatever. We see Dazzlers here as well. Just having fun. And listen, my man Gambit, he over here just daydreaming away about his girl, Rogue, his mon cher. And Nightcrawler was like, listen, why don't you just go ahead and marry her? Put a ring on that. Just go ahead and do that. But Gambit already understands. She's not looking for that. It's not gonna happen. So it is what it is. Meanwhile, we go back to the mansion where they are doing more of the interviews. But right outside, we see that Jean and Logan are skipping the interviews because Jean right now, she's trying to sort out her memories. Keep in mind, she's still having this identity crisis almost, in a sense, because she's really struggling with what her memories are and what they are not. Now, she does reveal that Scott is still grieving about giving up his son, which we talked about before, is really a major issue for Scott. Like, keep in mind, losing his son is a huge issue because he himself went through that same level of abandonment with his own father, ironically, for the same reason. His father was trying to save his life, and Scott, as a father, was trying to save his son's life. And through that, they got abandoned. So as Jean is doing this, of course, Logan is also there. And they both start to reminisce and talk about their dating lives. And this is Cyclops talking about his dating life with Jean. And Jean was also talking about the memory she remembered. And I just really love this back and forth. I thought this was a great creative decision, how they just kept going back and forth, telling bits and pieces of their past, but the way they remembered it. She talked about, or Cyclops talked about, how she used the Phoenix Force to block his optic blast, just so that he would be able to like see her and stuff like that. So that was really cool. But there was something that was also mentioned here. And this was from the creator, the showrunner, Beau DeMayo. He's been pretty active on social media now and dropping a lot of tidbits about what's going on with the show and all that. And he had some interesting insight about Jean in terms of how she's dealing with her memory. So I'll just read it to you real quick. He said, don't forget that Gene, who now faces memory disassociation and identity crisis that many survivors of sexual assault face. Sinister's Sinister was like, your mind, your body, you have no choice. All of that was deliberate. His violation of not saying when she was switched has turned her mind against itself. And that is just so amazing. Like, I cannot express to y'all enough how brilliant that is in terms of the writing, and what's happening with Jean. That's exactly what's happening with her. That's kind of also what might have been going on with Madeline Pryor as well, because in a sense, Sinister did violate her, and it's a different type of violation, right? Like, it's one that obviously we probably can't completely identify with because she's a mutant and a psychic. But you have to think about it as taking something precious from someone, and that could be a violation of their body, usually in sexual assault. But in this case, it's a violation of her mind. And for a psychic, their mind is probably far more precious than anything else. So the fact that, Sinister took that away from her, that's powerful stuff. That's really, really deep, But of course, now we get to the part that kind of had me like, say, what? And that was when Jean lost her damn mind. What the hell is Jean doing? What the hell is this? She sat here and gave this man a whole kiss. And look at, you know what? Let me tell you something. Shout out to Wolverine. Shout out to Wolverine, okay? Because let me tell you something. If this was Wolverine from the past, if this was the old Wolverine, I'm talking about just last season, not this 97, last season Wolverine, you know what we would have gotten? Matter of fact, not even that. If this was episode two Wolverine, we would have had Gene, all them Gene moans that he be doing, because he does them a lot. That's what we would have had. First of all, this would have lasted a lot longer if this was the old Wolverine. So shout out to my man's growth and maturity, because in the past we would have gotten something else. Listen, it might have gotten real X-rated. Okay, I'm just saying the old Wolverine would have gone a different route. But this Wolverine, he is like, yo, go fix things up with your man, and he gives her some advice. Don't stay buried in the past or else you'll drown in it. So big props to him. He said, listen, you are Jean Grey. He is Scott Summers. Those are the rules. My man knows he's not the main character. I love that. Because, way too many times in the past, this man was so mad. He was fighting robots and Cyclops. He didn't want to go to their wedding. If he could interrupt and be a third wheel, he could. He did not like the fact that Jean was in love with somebody else. But man, this is real growth. Shout out to him. And he knows this ain't my story. This ain't my story. That is crazy. And Jean is toxic as hell. I'm sorry. Jean is toxic AF for this, because in the past, Jean, yeah, she might kiss Logan, but she would have gave him that church hug and a kiss on the cheek. Okay. And y'all know what I'm talking about with the church hug. It's that little hug with the hips out. The hips are out, pelvis is out, and the arm just kind of go there. And maybe you get a little side cheek action, and that's about it. And a little bless your heart right there. That's all you're going to get. Logan, that's all he used to get back in the past. Quick little on the cheek and goodbye. But this right here was toxic as ever. But listen, I also got to get up. I got to get back. I know I gave Logan his props, but I got to get on him a little bit here too. Brother Logan, this was your time to shine. This was it. This was it, bro. You've been waiting 5 years for this? 5 years? And I just don't understand. Scott got a whole clone out there. He got a whole clone side piece. Why can't y'all both win here? I mean, why isn't Scott in Genosha right now? And Logan, you got your Jean right here. This is the perfect example where the math is mathing. I'm just saying, y'all both got your genes. I don't understand why they're not trying to make this work. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's 1 + 1 and 1 + 1. It's 2 + 2. Like, what are we doing? But shout out to Wolverine, growth, maturity, blah, 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 whatever. Anyway, let's get to that interview. Whoo-wee. So the interviewer goes on and strikes a whole nerve about Scott and his baby. He continues to lie, talking about he ain't got no kid, but he's not really lying, but he is kind of lying. Because technically, him and Gene don't have any kids, right? But the reporter was like, fact check. Because we had called a hospital, we looked at the records and all of that, and they said you are the daddy. Where the baby at? Where's the baby at? And of course, this triggers Cyclops like real bad. And he talks about how he had to give up his son because of humans and all the risks mutants have to take, and how all these humans are just normal and they just don't get it. And my man got up, stormed out, and was done with it. Well, damn, Scotty. Okay. Now, listen, let's kind of put all this into context here, because some people might be like, damn, why is he tripping over just a question? Hold on, wait a minute. This is clearly built up frustration that is accumulated for years. Okay, keep in mind, Xmen 97 is like 5 years worth of the mutants and stuff, and then they've had time even before that, right? So these mutant human relations are very tough. They're very challenging for them, right? Especially when you have humans that are very oblivious, or they be acting brand new, and that's kind of like the ungratefulness that Scott is kind of talking about, because they don't really understand or have a good perspective on how the world really works outside of their own shoes. So let me kind of give it to you like this. This is very similar. Okay, remember, there are parallels with the X-Men and minorities. This is similar to how Black and white American relations have gone in the past. You could have Black folks literally building this country for free, enslaved, Jim Crow, all of that, and not getting any benefits or resources denied to them for generations. And then you can have white people, white American people throughout time turn around and be like, why are all those Black folks so lazy? Why don't they do anything? Oh, they don't deserve anything. All that stuff, diversity, inclusion, there's no merit. They don't earn it. Even though they've been busting their butts for generations and gotten nothing, right? So at some people are gonna, at some point, some people are gonna crack. And that's what happened with Cyclops. He's like, listen, I destroyed a whole alien race for y'all. I fought Apocalypse for y'all. I fought Magneto for y'all. I put my life on the line for you normal humans, and y'all just sitting here acting like, what's the big deal? Where your baby at? You mean from the doctor that literally didn't want to birth my son? He didn't want to deliver my son? That doctor? Are you crazy? So this was a culmination of pent up frustration. And I think what's important to note here is there is no Professor X. Professor X has always been Cyclops's grounding point, right? Because keep in mind, because Cyclops has these abandonment issues with the lack of his father, he always looked up to Professor X. So even in the old episodes, when Cyclops would get frustrated, when he'd be like, man, what's going on with the humans? What's this? What's going on? Professor X was always there to be like, listen, chill out, relax. We got to help them out. They don't understand. We got to be the bigger person. When they go low, we go high. And that would bring Cyclops back. But guess what? Professor X ain't here. So if he's not here, what's going to happen when all this frustration happens? And well, we kind of see it ain't looking too good so far. And for those of y'all that know in the comics, this could be the beginning of how Cyclops, let's just say the other route that he takes down the line. Okay, I'm not going to spoil it for nobody, but Cyclops does have a lot of interesting development. But let me take a quick break. Let's kind of look at a couple comments. Let me see if they're appropriate or on time. I will go ahead and get to some of them, and then we'll get right back into the episode. Let's see. My man Dion just watched it all. I can say is wow. Yeah, I tried to tell you, bro. I tried to tell you, like, just you had to hurry up and see that. Thank you so much for the support, brother. Let's see. Gambit's beignets. Remember my gourmet chef's name. Thank you. I got you. Thank you so much for that. Let's see. We'll get back to that. No, we'll get back to that. All right, y'all jumping the gun. We gonna get to it. Okay, we'll get to that later. Okay, we'll get to that later. Yes, Kid Mello, what you got? Wolverine was a super G for what he did with Jean. All respect. Yeah, he was. Because that took a different level of strength. I mean, my man had, I don't know where that came from because he'd been a simp for years. Like anything Jean said, he would do. Like if Jean was like, please go get Roberto and get him back. Yes, Jean. Stupid Scott. Like he would just, it didn't matter. So for him to do this level of growth, good on him. Thank you so much, Kid Mello. I appreciate you. Okay, Diddy, we'll get to that in a second. We'll get to that. Yes. Okay. So Kim Mel, thank you so much for that support. Just to piggyback, black folks even served in the military and then came home and they were disrespected. That's what I got from Cyclops dialogue. Yes, this is again very similar to that, and I think you're referring to the GI Bill, where black folks would go serve in the military, and when they came home with that promise of getting home loans and getting that GI, resources and stuff, it didn't apply to them, despite the fact they put their lives on the line for that country. So yeah, a lot of that is very, very similar. Thank you so much. I will get to the rest of those as we go along. Don't you guys worry about it. All right, so we go back. So he walked out of the interview, but now we go across to Genosha. So now we have like a council of Genosha, and we see Moira is back with her boyfriend or husband, I don't know, Banshee. He was in the old series, and if in case you didn't know, she, like as Madeline did say, she is a very, very fierce ally for mutants. That's all she pretty much does is help mutants from day one, But as they invite everyone there, we start to find out the real reason why Magneto was invited, and it was because they wanted a leader for Genosha, or in this case, a chancellor. So the problem is he don't want it. He don't want to be the chancellor. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to be there right now. But he does kind of go back and remember what Professor X and the dream that they had, because ideally it would be Professor X that would be that human leader, correspondent. But he's not here. He's not here, so that's pretty much not going to happen. However, he did have one condition. If he was going to be the leader, and my man Mags, he said, listen, I'll be the leader if Rogue gonna be my queen. But Rogue is not going. She is not going. And let me tell y'all something, because y'all gonna hear me say this a lot. This whole episode is full of bars, left and right. Just one taste of what we got was what Mag said to get Rogue here, and when she rejected him, and he was like, "Listen, I love you, but just like with Gambit, loving you makes broken men whole, so that even as you deny us, our heartache is not in vain." Ooh. Listen, I got a question. I know Rogue can't touch nobody, and I know she can only touch Magneto, but what is she putting on this man? Because it's got to be something. You got to be putting something on this man to sit here and say, listen, baby, Even when you break my heart, I love you so hard. It's worth it. Whew, man. Bars. Bars, I tell you. Bars. Whew. Anyway, we go back to the mansion. And now we see, Gene and Scott, they're talking about his son, Nathan, excuse me. And while they do connect, this wasn't going to last long because just like cheetahs, boom, 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 here comes Gene. And Gene was like, oh, hell no. You just going to sit here and have a whole psychic affair with Madeline Pryor? Are you kidding me? You kidding me? Look at this. I want you to look at this. She was pretending to be Jean. Madeline, listen, this got to be a sick type of, this is a different type of role playing. How is the clone who already went and got a whole new identity gonna come back and psychically cheat with Cyclops and pretend to be her other clone and be Jean? Y'all nasty. Y'all nasty. How you gonna pretend to be the other clone? You could have just been Madeline. Just be Madeline. Messy. And Gene was like, we not having this. Not on my clock. Not on my psychic watch. Not today. And then the second that happened, sorry, the psychic you have dialed has now been disconnected. And Madeline was like, ooh. Well, I'm sorry. Little mind wandered a little bit. Look at this. Look at Emma. Look at Emma right here. I need you to see her face because she knows what happened. She's a psychic too. Okay. Emma knows what just went down. That's why she was like, mind faded. Is that right? Listen, now for some of you comic fans out there, the reason why Emma is even involved in this is because I think this was like a nod to comic fans. In the comics, when Jean died multiple times or she was gone, whatever, Scott had moved on and he moved on with Emma. And when Jean came back and he was like, oh, here go Jean, him and Emma still had psychic affairs. She was still in his mind and he was still in her mind and they was doing their thing. Listen, now some people like, yo, E-Man, is this right? I mean, he was with this clone and it was only psychic. Listen, I don't make the rules here. If the psychic says you was cheating, then you was cheating. I don't know. These are the mutant rules, okay? Gene already said that was our thing. We used to do that thing with our heads. That was the thing. And he cheated. Okay, he cheated. So, and let me just also put this out there. The rules of cheating are defined per relationship. What's cheating for you might not be cheating for another couple. This is cheating for them. So clearly, with a psychic, you better not even think about another psychic. Because and psychic. Gee, I mean, Scott was so dumb. Scott was so dumb in this whole thing because the whole time she was like, yo, you really just gonna sit here and have this psychic rapport with Madeline? And he confessed to it and was like, yeah. And she was like, how long this been going on? He was like, about a month. Like, what? He was like, yeah, so what happened? I was just checking in and, Gene, I just wanted to see how she was doing it. Man, come on now. How many times have we heard stuff like this? We know this story. The baby daddy and the baby mama, man, listen, I was just calling to check up, make sure she was good. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, oh, your light bulb is out. All right. I mean, I'll come and fix it. And then next thing you know, you spending the night and all that stuff. Why are you spending the night? Well, what happened was the light bulb and needed an extra screw or two. Why are you screwing in the light bulb? Like, come on, bro. First of all, why are you admitting to this? I mean, I know you can't lie to her because she is a psychic, but what you doing, man? What you doing? Golly, just big dummy. Just out here just being dummy. But she was like, listen, leave me alone. Okay, get out my face. And why don't you just go be with your clone? Go be with my clone. Okay, go be with my clone. And Scott said, let me flip this. Hold up, wait a minute. Scott was like, let me tell you something. That's still my baby mama. How can I not think about her? Then he admitted that he loved both of them. Bro, you just, Scott, you must be new to the game, bro. What are you doing? What are you doing? You love both of them? Come on, man. Come on, man. Oh. And then all of a sudden, Jean gets that psychic punch in her forehead. Whew. And we'll talk about what that is a little bit later. But let me grab this real quick. Let me grab this real quick. Didier says here, how Jean gonna be kissing on Logan to go psychic screaming at Scott? Now this is the question that should be answered. This is the question I got, because I just don't understand. That's the part I'm like, wait a minute, ma'am. Like, you was right out there. Where is it at? Where is it at? Like, ma'am, not too long ago, 5 seconds ago, wasn't this you? You was outside like this. This was you right outside. And you just gonna conveniently have amnesia and forget all about it and go at Scott. I mean, Scott is trash here too. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying. Crazy. Thank you so much. Appreciate you for that. But Jean is tripping on that. She is tripping. T-Mac, what you say here? Jean gotta chill. It's a clone. Sinister's clone too. Listen, I think that Jean was cool to an extent and understanding of what happened, but it's the psychic thing that's bothering her more, because again, to a psychic, that the mind is kind of like it's like their body, right? Like, it is a very precious thing that they have. So to her, it was probably like, listen, you can go sleep with whoever, I don't care, but you having psychic relations, that's a no. So again, I don't make the rules. I don't know. This is a whole different thing. It's a whole different thing. So this is as the mutants turn, okay? Because this is our soap opera at this point. Okay, as the mutants turn. Anyway, what you got? Your recaps make my day. Your faces and descriptions are so animated. These messy mutants, yo. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Listen, I'm just having fun with the rest of y'all, because this is crazy. Like, when they give us good stuff like this, woo-wee. All right, let's get back to the episode. So we go back to Genosha, and this time Rogue is meeting up with Gambit, and she decides to basically come clean and let her know what is going on with her and Magneto, and what was going on with their past. Oh, wait a minute. Did we? Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll go with that. That's fine. But anyway, Rogue drops in, tells him about the past with Magneto, about how her mom brought her to the Savage Land, and basically introduced her to Magneto at that point. And man, look at this. My man said, look at my books. Look at my connection. Look at all of this stuff over here. My man was basically showing her around, showing her all the knowledge, putting her on game. Okay, drawing her. Look at the art skills. Okay, now y'all know this is just like how them photographers be like, let me take your picture. Let me, you know how photographers be with the models, like, let me make you famous. This is what Mags was on. Mags was on that. And let me tell you the real tipping point. You know it's real. You know it's real when they give you that purple drink. My man said, girl, let me tell you something. Let me give you some of a sip of this purple drink. And right there, it didn't take long. Now, did it? She took a sip. Now, he didn't have the cheddar biscuits. Okay, he did not have the forged cheddar biscuits, but he had that purple drink, and that's all it took. Bzz, look at that. You a little quick sip, and bzz, you got that connection right there. But even though she had her drink, they had their connection, that didn't last long. Why? Mainly because she ends up breaking with Mags, mainly because of his personal trauma and her own. Okay, keep in mind she came from a very abusive household. You know, she has her own trauma in terms of just being a mutant that comes along with it. And he has his own trauma of dealing with the Holocaust and stuff like that as he was younger. But something else to kind of think about, and I don't know if this is I don't know if this is canon or not, but even though she could touch Magneto, keep in mind that one of the things that also comes along with Rogue's abilities is that she's basically a super empath. In other words, she can feel other people's emotions and their memories and take all that in. So I don't know if maybe Magneto's powers allowed her to just touch and that's it. But I also wonder if she was able to take on some of his pain and trauma too. Maybe she was able to absorb that and be like, yo, yeah, okay, maybe we could touch, but like, man, you be going through too much, and I got too much baggage on my own. You got your own baggage. This too much. It's too much. And while she's telling this to Gambit, you know, he's just listening. This, by the way, this is great cinematography. I know it's animated, but this cinematography, I think, is just so on point. I loved every bit of this. Just showing her talking to Gambit, and he's just listening. He's just listening because listen, Gambit has always been a great friend, you know, and you know, Rogue told Gambit that listen, I can't touch you, Remy, but he said, look, some things are deeper than skin. And Gambit said, listen, you never wanted a real relationship anyway. And that was cool with Gambit. That was cool. He was okay being the side swamp rat. Okay. That was not a problem for him. But he said, listen, it's all good. Magneto is going to break your heart. And in the meantime, he put her in the friend zone. Good for you, Gambit. Good for you. I mean, I don't like the fact that my man has been doing nothing but loving Rogue for years, half a decade. This man has been loving her, not just chasing her, not just flirting with her, loving her, even though he could never touch her. Every time she was sad, he was there. Every time she needed comfort, he was there. And she came up with this whole story about her Magneto. Like what do you think he was gonna say? What do you think he was supposed to do with that? I'm sorry, sugar, but I just, you know, I can touch him. I can't touch you. Girl, fine. Go touch him in the friend zone. Bye. Bye. Good for you, Gambit. Have some self-respect. I love it. You see my man burning up that Queen of Hearts too? He's tired of it. He's tired of it. I love it. Good for him. What? Man, shout out to Logan and Gambit for personal growth. Shout out to both of them being the mature ones, not being simps no more. Love it. Man. But let's get back to the party. So we go back to the gala. The party is going down. And you know, this has been oh, wait a minute. Hold on. No, before we get to that. Did that happen yet? No, it didn't happen. I'm sorry. Let me get back to it. So we're doing the party, and while they're at the party, you know, you have the UN representative, and she comes in and she's basically still hating on Magneto. She don't really like the fact that Magneto is still here. She doesn't really like the fact that you know, he's going to be their potential leader. And once again, this is where this show just drops the bars. What did he say? She said, like, well, most other nations don't allow a terrorist to be their leader. And he was like, well, yet so many other leaders, so many other countries allow their leaders to be terrorists. Just bars. He just be dropping these things, man. Like, yo, to the writing. Whew, man. But even though we get back here, we see that the party's going on and Rogue shows up. And Rogue flies down. She looking fly. She looking nice. My man Gambit still has to see this. And of course, boom, You know, she's dancing with Magneto, all in his face. Now he did put her in the friend zone. He did put her in the friend zone. I'm just saying, she had to go off and do this too. Really? You had to kiss in front of everybody? Oh man, this hurt a little bit. This hurt just a little bit. But the kiss was not for nothing, right? Like, keep in mind that the kiss was far more symbolic for what they were to represent. With Magneto, the fear from the UN representative was that we have somebody, as she viewed it, as a terrorist, even though he literally just saved y'all lives 2 episodes ago. And but he's the bad guy. Like, y'all literally would not be here if it were not for Magneto, you know. But by pairing up with an X-Men like Rogue, it basically made the humans feel more comfortable, because the X-Men, basically having them there makes them feel better. And that's really cool, because that's a testament to the X-Men's efforts over the years, that they actually have made at least some progress. So that was actually pretty cool that they represented it in that way. Now, in case some of y'all, maybe you blinked and you missed it, but we got to see something with the Starlight. Now, let me take this out so you guys can see it here. But as many of you probably noticed, if you look on the left-hand side, that is the Watcher. Yes, that's right. It is the cosmic being out there that watches everything. Basically the intergalactic peeping Tom of the MCU. So I do have my theory as to why the Watcher is here and why it's not just some fun little cameo, but I will address that a little bit later as we go on. But yes, the Watcher does show up. He does make his little appearance here. But what's interesting here is more so what happens with Madeline Pryor. So Madeline ends up getting the psychic blast. And this is where things get interesting, because Madeline gets this psychic blast and it clearly had to have come from somewhere, but we don't exactly know where. Now, here's what's interesting. Earlier in the episode, Jean also got a random psychic blast. We don't know where it came from. We don't know how it happened, but it came from somewhere. Now, what's interesting about this is, and I can't slow it down here, but the blast is traveling. So it's coming from a direction. It's not an internal thing. So that lets us know that whatever is psychically attacking them or hitting them is coming from an outside source. And it happened to both of them. We'll definitely go into why that happened or where it came from. But that's kind of like the interesting thing with them. And as they are both getting this psychic blast, we also see that Madeline starts to bleed, like she has a nosebleed. But if you look really closely, so does Jean. Jean also starts to have a nosebleed at the same time. So whatever's going on with Madeline is also going on with Jean. So I thought that was actually pretty cool that they threw that in there. Just that quick little tidbit. Let's see. Then as they're kind of having this psychic situation or whatever, you start to hear a voice in Madeline's mind. And as she's going through this, now if you had the captions on, the captions would tell you that it was Cable's voice. And it was actually Cable himself, because he was at the event. Now, this might get a little technical, but like, I believe that the psychic blast that came at them was actually coming from Cable. It could be from someone else, but I believe that it came from Cable, because when Madeline was having her vision and she was going through all these psychic visions or whatever, she heard Cable's voice. What was it? Kill the music, turn off the music, or whatever it was he was saying. But when she was hearing this, Cable was nowhere around. Cable was far away at that time. So it is possible that this came from Cable. Now, in the comics, and I don't think the show has demonstrated this, but in the comics, Cable does have some telepathic ability. Matter of fact, he's stupidly powerful. But I don't think the show has demonstrated his telepathic ability, but this could be it, right? So I'm thinking at this point, the moment he came here, the moment he traveled into this time, that's when Jean and Madeline both had this connection. Now, why did they have that connection? If we go back to episode 3, right before Madeline gives Cable off to Bishop to go into the future to save him, she leaves him a psychic voicemail, right? And in this psychic voicemail, basically she says, hey, your mom and dad love you. We're not going to, desert you. We're trying to help you, blah, 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 right? So she gives him this psychic message. And again, he is the son of a powerful psychic. So it makes sense that in a similar way that Cyclops has this psychic connection with Jean and with Madeline, that Cable would have a psychic connection with Madeline. But how does that explain why Jean got the psychic blast too? For some of y'all young folks, I need y'all to bear with me. Back in the day when we had landlines, that was cell phones with long cables that were not charging. They were part of how we made the phone calls. There was this ability to have three-way calling. And I believe that the psychics had basically the same situation going on. So the same way when Scott was on the psychic hotline with Madeline, Jean picked up that landline and was like, not today. Get off my phone. Okay. And he had to hang up. I think that's kind of what happened, where Cable called Madeline, maybe inadvertently or whatever. And because Jean never hung up, she never hung up that phone. So that three-way connection psychically was still happening. I believe that might explain why we had the three-way psychic connection there. I could be wrong, but I think that this is kind of what happened. I think that's kind of what happened. But anyway, we see Cable meeting up with Madeline for the first time. And again, he actually recognizes her as his mother. And I still believe that is primarily because of the psychic voicemail that was left to her. But then this is when all chaos breaks loose. This is when it all goes to hell. By the way, Cable did say he is coming. He is coming. And we don't know who that he is. That he, I'm assuming, could be Master Mold. And if you recall, Master Mold was that big sentinel that we saw in episode 1 that was basically creating all the other sentinels. It could be Apocalypse. It could be somebody else. But I believe what we saw, the sentinel that we're about to see, I believe that's Master Mold, or at least a concoction of him. So just kind of keep that in mind. But yes, all the chaos ensues at this point. And this is where it starts to get tough. This is where everything really, really starts to get tough. But before we get into that, I see I got a couple comments. So let me grab these real quick. Let's see. Okay, Nelson, what you got? When I saw the Watcher appear in the sky, oh my God, yes. So again, seeing the Watcher, it does have a big implication. Again, I'll talk about that a little later, but he doesn't just watch for no reason. So yes, I had the very same thoughts as well. What else did you say, Nelson? Thank you so much. Did Apocalypse pull Cable back to the future? I don't think so. A lot of times their time bands or whatever, they only have a certain amount of energy or juice before they have to go back. That might be it, or it could be some other factor. But my guess is that he just ran out of time, no pun intended. But I think that's kind of what happened. And he just wasn't able to save them. That wasn't it. But also keep in mind that like Cable has been going back to Genosha literally from like the first couple of episodes in season 1. He was always there trying to stop Master Mold, mainly because later in the future, Master Mold, I don't know if he becomes Nimrod or creates Nimrod, but basically the Sentinels are a problem later in the future. And he's like, yo, we got to stop this at the very, very beginning. So this is not new for Cable at all. He's been doing this for a long time and multiple times. Gambit, would you say that Rogue is not sweet like sugar? No, she's not. I mean, she's going through some things. But yes, yes. Tracy, thank you so much. Favorite moment number one: Magneto romancing Rogue at dinner in his robe, bare chested like a pimp. Listen, my man had that magnetic Old Spice on. You know, he was getting it on. Listen, he knows what he's doing. He's been around. Now, at some point, I do want us to answer the question: how old is he? And how old is she? They gotta have at least a 30-year age gap. I'm just saying that's a big gap. Listen, love is love, but golly, he could be her granddaddy. I'm just saying that's different. Thank you so much. Dwight, what you said here? The bar has been set really high for live action. Xavier has to come in hot. I agree, and we'll see if that happens or when it happens. So we'll see. All right, let's go back. Okay, let's get to the chaos because this is where it gets tough. The chaos starts up, and we finally see what is behind all this destruction, and it does look like a big, I don't know, like a big hodgepodge of Sentinels all put together in some weird way. And this thing is a problem. It is destroying and killing mutants left and right. Magneto and Rogue are about to catch a quick shot, but thankfully, Kurt comes in and pulls them aside, teleports them to safety, but not without getting really injured. And right here, you see this quick shot of Rogue trying to go help her. By the way, that's her half brother, right? Like that's her half adopted brother. And she couldn't touch him because if she touched him, that would potentially kill him if he's even remotely alive. Now, thankfully, Gambit came and checked up on him and he was still alive. But that was just kind of interesting how they showed that, she really just cannot touch. And we see a lot of the devastation. Sebastian Shaw is down. Was that Jean Madeline? No, I don't think so. Then you had the Morlocks, Callisto. Looks like she's just gone. She's dead. And this terror, whatever this bug-like sentinel creature, this thing looked like it came straight out of an anime. This thing is like just doing pure straight up chaos and mayhem on all of Genosha. And this is a real problem. And there does not seem to be an easy solution. I mean, even Magneto is really trying to fight this thing and go against it. But it is very difficult for him. But this was probably one of my favorite scenes. Not this, but this. This was one of my low-key favorite scenes. And I want to just kind of tell you why. Because you have to understand who she was. She was the representation of the UN, right? And she's, I guess, in a sense, a representation of humans, the normal people, right? The majority. Let's just put it that way. And I love this scene mainly because the scene of the UN rep, she was in the thick of the danger. And what this reminded me of, this was reminiscent of a potential turning point, right? This reminded me of the turning point in the civil rights movement. One of the biggest catalysts, one of the biggest reasons change happened with white people in America when it came to the civil rights movement was when a lot of the demonstrations and marches were televised. And when they were televised, it was one of the first time white people were forced to see dogs attacking black people. When the police dogs were attacking them, or when the hoses were sprayed on black people who were literally not doing anything. They were being nonviolent. And that was their George Floyd moment, so to speak. So I love the fact that this lady is sitting here in the thick of it, seeing the exact terror that the mutants have been dealing with for years. And she's finally seeing what it's like to be in their shoes. And that to me is so huge. I absolutely love that they're showing that, because again, she's that mindset. She's that representative of what it of humans or for humans. So for her to see this firsthand, I'm hoping this increases her level of empathy for what the mutants have to go through on a daily basis. Anyway, as this fight is going on, we see Magneto here. He is not doing very well. He is actually starting to get triggered. And what we see here is him having a flashback of not only mutants getting, killed and stuff, but this is a picture from him during the Holocaust. And coming from the Holocaust and then living through that oppression of just being a mutant, it's crushing him. It's really taking a toll on him. And this is why, I this is why I said this before last time. Magneto is a tragic character that's defined by his trauma. And like I said, he's just like Batman, whose childhood past continues to haunt him and defines him to this day. Magneto's actions and thoughts are all driven by what happened to him as a kid. And it doesn't matter if those actions make him a hero or a villain. No matter what it is and what he does, it always comes from the same place. So I really love the fact that the writers understood this much about the character, because this is his trauma, this is his pain, and this is where what really moves him. And what I love is the fact when he finds out that the Morlocks are in trouble, and he was like, "No, a promise was made." And when he said that, he basically was talking about the promise that was made to the Morlocks, and that was the promise he made to Leech. I want to say in the third episode or so, second or third episode, where he was like, "No, I'm gonna make sure that you guys are protected. No harm is gonna come to you." And man, when he said that, my man took a whole train and started to whoop that trick, whoop that trick. He whooped Magneto went full Django. He took that whip and started whipping the mess out that Sentinel. Just crazy with it. I love that scene. I loved this. I love this because if you really want to get deep with it, when you look at the history of Genosha in the second or third episode, they enslaved the mutants. And what were they doing to the mutants? Cracking that whip, whipping them like slaves. And Magneto said, "No, it's y'all turn. Not today. Y'all gonna get every piece of this subway, every piece of this." Woo! Hit them up, hit them up. Meanwhile, we go back down the ground level. The Morlocks, they're out there in the nick of danger, in the face of danger. And of course, there's a Sentinel that detects them and is coming for them, dead on. But they're thinking to themselves that Magneto's going to be the one to save them. Nope. It's Gambit. So Gambit comes in, saves the day, because that's just what he does. And he, after saving the Morlocks, him and Rogue go out to go and help out with the big fight. And as they are doing this, the Sentinel is detecting the Omega level mutant, which is Magneto at this point. So shout out to finally putting some respect on Magneto, acknowledging him as an Omega level mutant. And this is really important. This is really important. As this blast is getting shot at everybody, Magneto decides to save Rogue and Gambit by keeping them away. He protected them and covered them up. And at the same time, he was doing this to the Morlocks because this is the promise that he made to them. He promised them that he was going to protect them. And It was in this moment where I really loved how he had that moment with Leech. And if you understand Leech's powers, Leech has the ability to um suck away, to drain other mutants' abilities. So you have to understand what is actually happening while he's touching and grabbing onto Magneto. He's draining his powers. He's draining his powers at this point, and Magneto is getting weaker and weaker, even though he's still trying to save everybody at the same time. And to me, I'm just sitting here like, this is so powerful for, again, Magneto's character. And we get the more heartfelt moment where obviously he's not going to be able to hold out. And he starts to speak in German. And he says, "Do not be afraid." And it was at that moment that Magneto became the hero that he wished someone had been for him back then during the Holocaust. This is fantastic writing. This is fantastic writing. I like that moment. It gets me every time. Just watching that, I was just like, yo, what? How are y'all doing this? How are y'all doing this? So Magneto falls. And as Magneto falls, the Sentinels are like, all right, whatever. Omega level threat eliminated. He's done. He's dead. And Rogue can't have this. Rogue is losing it. She is about to go straight in for the kill. And these Sentinels will kill her. Like whatever, I don't know, juice that they are on right now, they will kill her. And Gambit knows that. So Gambit had to he charged up a whole motorcycle to hit Rogue to save her life because he knew she was going to die. And then my man Gambit. My man Gambit got hit. He tried to go up against the Sentinel. He got hit, but it was all good. It was all good because he said, I got something for you. The name is Gambit. Remember me. Remember it. He charged up that Sentinel and blew that up to smithereens. And this is all being televised. And the world is watching as all of this goes down. And during this moment, we get probably one of the most powerful scenes that we've seen in the Xmen animated series. We get Rogue holding on to Gambit. Very reminiscent to Superman in The Death of Superman when he was facing off against Doomsday. And probably one of the most heart-wrenching things that she could say. She says, I can't feel you. Which basically means he doesn't have any life essence for her to take away. And we lost Gambit. Whew. You know, I remember in WandaVision when Wanda said pretty much the same thing to Vision. When he was on the table and she was like, I can't feel you. I can't feel, you know. But this one hurt a little bit more because we've known for how long touch has meant to Rogue. And for her to sit there and not be able to feel Gambit, that hurts extra deep. Because for someone that's been denied for so many years, all her life, to be able to touch And then now she finally gets to touch, we're not counting Magneto, but she finally gets to touch the person that really loves her. That's more than skin deep. The only time she could touch him is in death. Oh, that writing, that writing, that writing. Oh, whoo, man, oh man, man, oh man. Now, all right, let's get into the theory time or whatever. So I think that maybe this will help. Maybe this will help a little bit. Obviously this is tough. This is tough to see. This is tough to, like, this hurt because Gambit is like one of my favorite characters. And I've been rooting for Gambit and Rogue since forever. But I want to bring a couple things to your attention that I think might help people feel a little bit better. As I mentioned earlier, you have the situation with the Watcher. And I told you before, the Watcher does not just pop up unless there's good reason to. And as we've also noticed, the Watcher shows up whenever multiversal things happen. Okay? So what does that mean here? We saw Cable show up. And Cable basically was like, oh no, I'm too late. I believe that everything we just saw from the moment Cable showed up, when Jean and Madeline both had their nosebleeds, that psychic blast, I believe that what we saw from that point on was a psychic vision. And it's not to say that it didn't happen. I believe that we just saw one of Cable's memories of an actual reality that did happen. Does that make sense? So in other words, Cable has been going back in the past multiple times to prevent certain situations from happening. They've done this in the previous X-Men series before. There was a time, for example, when Bishop went back in time to help save Professor X, and they killed Professor X. They killed him when he was in college. So when they killed him at that point, they had to go back in time again. And when they went to the different future, that future is when Logan and Storm were together, and it was a whole different thing. They had to go back in the past again, and then they had to undo everything all over again. So I'm hoping that because Cable came in, because Cable does have a psychic connection with his mom, who also has a three-way call psychic connection with Madeline and Jean, I think we all just saw what they went through. I think we all just saw a possible future that happened. And I'm hoping that when we get to episode 7, because they're not going to continue this story in episode 6. Sorry. When we get to episode 7, we might be able to see them maybe prevent this situation a little differently. Now, the other reason why I say this is because I find it very hard to believe that they would kill so many mutants that have significance. I find it very hard to believe that you would kill the leader of the Morlocks, you would kill Sebastian Shaw of the Hellfire Gala Club, that you would kill Gambit, that you would kill Magneto, and we don't have any replacements. Professor X ain't here either. You're taking too many players off the board. And again, you've seen this done in the previous series. Well, they will show you a jacked up future and a jacked up situation where time travel later is used to fix it. So I would not be surprised if Cable comes back and he's like, oh, I was too late. They go back and they're like, listen, turn off the music. And they was like, nope, it's all good. I read your memory. I already know. Yo, Magneto, we got to stop, exit people. You know what I'm saying? Now, keep in mind, I am trying my hardest because I don't need my mon ami, my man, the raging Cajun. I don't want him gone. Okay. So I'm really trying. I'm hoping that this is all a potential past event. That's my little theory. That's my theory. Y'all let me know what you think about it. Maybe y'all have some different ideas. Whatever you think, let me know in the comments. All right, now we can get to some of these other comments. All right, Anthony, let's see. Thank you so much. You said, I'm pissed. I know you corrected yourself. I'm pissed. Gambit has always been my favorite X-Men. They barely did anything with him in this revival. Now they do. All they do is just kill him off. Well, again, like I said in my theory, I'm assuming that they just killed him for show. But he will be back. I'm hoping he will be back. But that's just, it's tough. That's tough. There was a lot of emotional damage here. A lot. Let's see. Now I know how Cyclops fans felt watching X3. I didn't cry for him at all. X3 was terrible, so I didn't care. I did not care at all, but you know, it is what it is. Let's see. Ali, what you got? I wonder if he gets pulled back. If he's unable to stop the event he needs to stop. This show is everything. These dudes out here after the ladies. Yet it's possible. It's possible that he might have gotten pulled back because of that. Or maybe, you know, like I said, maybe he ran out of juice. Maybe it failed. I don't know. But yeah, it is possible that maybe he has to do it again. He already kind of said not again. So this is something that he's constantly working on and constantly going after and dealing with. So, you know, that is a case, right? Didier, what you got? So who's paying the bill on all these Sentinels? So that's kind of the problem, right? What was it? Bolivar, Trask, or whatever. I think that the government was paying the bills for them, but these guys might have gone rogue and they had all these secret facilities. And if you look at the Sentinels, they look like they were built from a lot of scraps of other Sentinels and stuff. So I think they just got a great recycling program and they just be reusing the hell out of it. I think that's what's going on. But clearly, remember when they went to the dude in jail, they was like, yo, where's your accomplice? Like, where's the other guy that was helping y'all make all these Sentinels? And that's why when they went to the desert, they found that remote location, but they didn't find the actual guy there. So it's possible that they have another secret location that they're making all these Sentinels. And you know, listen, the X-Men are gonna have to find out where they are and put a stop to them. So I'm thinking that's what we'll get to at some point. But they are not cheap to make. They're not cheap. Icon, what you got? Emma Frost was messy watching everything going down. You know, a messy person was in the writer's room. Yes, 100%. Yes, absolutely. That was absolutely. She's messy. She's absolutely messy. Let's see. Tracy, what you got? Favorite moment number 2, Magneto telling Leech in German, don't be afraid, while his power was failing him and all seemed lost. Courage. Yeah, that was tough. That was tough because when you connect and you understand where he came from in terms of his trauma and his past, and then you put that together. Oh, yes. I'm with you on that. Great moment. Great moment. Thank you. Final boss. This was the Red Wedding for the X-Men. This was one of them. This was one of them because when you read the comics, there are so many like this. So many. I mean, they just did this in Krakoa. You know, the Krakoa story. So yeah. I forget what the comic was called. The Massacre, Genosha Massacre, I think, or something like that. But yeah. Gambits. What? No more beignets? Nah, them done. Sorry. It's a wrap. Sharon, oh my God. Yeah, Sharon. I know it's a lot, but thank you so much for a very generous support there. I appreciate you all the time, Sharon. I really do. Thank you so much. But that was my expression too. Mine too. Is Cable a Nexus being? Makes sense seeing Uatu. I don't think so. But he is someone that just travels through time. So I think that Cable is very similar to Peggy Carter. So Peggy Carter is not a Nexus being, but because she keeps dealing with the multiverse, she's starting to gain a rapport or a connection with the Watcher. And keep in mind, no one interacted with the Watcher at this point. So I would not say that Cable is a Nexus being, at least not from what I can tell. He just happens to constantly do a lot of time travel. Didier, what you got? So is Cable having a Groundhog Day moment? Hope so. I think so. Especially when he said not this again. You know, when he basically said not again. We don't know if this is his only mission. We don't know if he's had multiple missions, but just like we've seen him in the original series early on and multiple times throughout the original series, he's always going back in time trying to prevent something. So whether it's Apocalypse, whether it's Nimrod, whether it's Master Mold, he's always trying to undo and help in some way. So I think his whole life is a Groundhog Day in itself, because he is kind of sort of a paradox in a way. Icon, is Magneto really gone? Because I'm a need for him for his bars. This episode was epic. So one way that you can tell that he was gone is the Sentinels did say the Omega level threat is eliminated. When they were fighting against Gambit, they said that the threat was neutralized, but they didn't say eliminated. And as we saw, Gambit didn't die yet. So the fact that they said he was eliminated, I believe they knew that. I believe, yeah, he is dead. But again, going to that theory, if it's a possible future, maybe he's dead in this future, but maybe in another timeline, he's not. So we'll have to wait and see on that. Thank you so much. Winter, what you got? I don't think that's the Watcher. Too skinny, sunken eyes, and the collar. I think it's Cassandra Nova would explain the psychic blast gene clone gets. I don't know. This looks very Watcher-ish to me. I don't know. I don't know. That's a pretty big head too. I mean, maybe. But I guess the bigger question is, like, if it was Nova, which is the professor's evil psychic sister or whatever, I think that would require more explaining, and like, why would she help and all that. So I'm going to lean on the Watcher. I'm going to lean on that's the Watcher. But thank you so much for that. Appreciate you. Kid Mello, E-Man, do you think the MCU would use any of this good writing in the movies for the X-Men? I hope so. No idea. Because the fact that they fired the showrunner, Beau DeMayo, is still beyond me. You know, again, I understand that according to the rumors, he was difficult to work with. And apparently people at Marvel or Disney didn't feel comfortable with his OnlyFans. You know, but at this point, I'm kind of like, suck it up. Because this man is giving us the greatness right now. Like, I don't care what. Did he break a law? That's all I have to ask at this point. You know, like, Marvel's really going to have to come to the point where they think about. Listen, after episode 5 of X-Men 97, Marvel's going to have a come to Jesus moment, and they're going to have to ask themselves, do we want all the monies? Do we want all the money? Because what Beau DeMayo just gave us, from just the writing standpoint, is literally a gold mine. It pains me to even realize that this guy was going to write the Blade script. He was going to give us Blade. If Beau DeMayo's not writing X-Men everything moving forward, I don't know what's going to happen. Now, we already have 3 seasons that have kind of sort of been greenlit. 2 have already been done by Beau DeMayo, so we at least are going to have that greatness moving forward. But I have a sinking feeling that if he's not going to be back, we might see a dip in quality in season 3. And if we're spoiled with this goodness now, Marvel's going to have to come back and just really be like, Hey, big head, how you doing? Come on back. Because y'all just gonna have to suck it up. If this man did not break any laws, hire Beau DeMayo back. Because it's honestly a waste of time and talent to part ways with him. Listen, I don't care if he was cussing y'all out. Hire him back. We need him on all these movies. Because what I love about it is that he clearly understands the characters. And this was another point I wanted to bring up. Thank you, Kid Mello. I appreciate you, by the way. He had just talked about how I told you there were parallels in all this, right? And he was talking about the whole situation in Genosha, and he was talking about the event of how everything looked like it was all good. Everything was going down real fine. And he was like, this was a situation, as a gay man, he went through, or at least felt when it came to the Orlando shooting. He went to a certain gay bar and he felt very at peace, very comfortable. Everything was cool. And then all of a sudden, you had some terrorists come in full of rage and hate and bigotry and bring a whole massacre in. And that, according to Beau DeMayo, that was his pitch to Marvel. This episode was what he was like, yo, this is my pre and post 9/11 moment before the mutants. So a lot of this stuff is coming from his personal experiences as being a gay black man. But like we've always talked about, that has a lot of parallels to the mutants in general. So yeah, I personally would love to see this guy come back and be a part of it. I don't know what the issues are with them, but he needs to come back. Sim, what you got? Thank you so much. Hey, E-Man and E-Fam. This episode had me shed some tears. Love how they are not afraid to touch on the real social themes, and the writing is on point. Packs a punch. Couldn't agree with you more on that. Definitely had me choked up a little bit. Like I was at work sitting there like I had to process. Tony, okay, thank you so much. Would you have liked to have seen James Cameron R-rated Spider-Man movie, especially from the script, or glad and fine that Sam Raimi's Spider-Man? Personally, I would have loved to see James Cameron, because personally I think he's one of the best directors of all time. Like this dude, all he does is come in and make billion-dollar hits and great films that are like timeless. So 100%. But am I mad that we got the Sam Raimi stuff? No, I like them. So that except for three. But yeah, those first two are great. So yeah, I would have liked to see it, but it is what it is. Maybe in another time. Anyway, guys, this is the point in time where I need to ask you guys for your rating for episode 5 of Xmen 97. While you guys are doing that, I will go ahead and give you my thoughts on it. I think that this is probably the epitome of spectacular writing. And one of the key components of having great writing is understanding themes and how those themes impact your characters. And this writing is impeccable because it does all of that. We saw the themes of how the past define each characters and how their struggle to hold on to the past or move forward was a constant issue for them, and the actions that they took. I felt like this was probably one of the best in terms of balancing drama, comedy, action. I haven't done this in a long time, but guys, I have to give this a 10 out of 10. This is probably one of the best episodes I've ever seen on an animated show. I haven't seen The Boys do this. I haven't felt like this with Invincible. I don't know any other MCU show that has done this with this amount of time with these characters, which has found a way to still benefit from the previous series at that. This is a 10 out of 10. This is one of the reasons why when I get and criticize other things, whether it's a movie or TV show, for bad writing, this is why. Because I know good writing is possible. When you see a perfect A+ paper, you know why the C+ paper is not equivalent, right? You know why, because you see the bar. This set the bar. This hit on every single level. Matter of fact, Shout out to the tribal chief. This was levels above. I got to give it up for Beau DeMayo. Got to. 10 out of 10 for me. But let's see where you guys are at with this. Where are the people at? Where y'all at? We have a 10, 9, 10, 10, 9, 9.5, 10, 11, 9. Looks like a 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. 8.5, a lead. My God, really? Okay. I'm a little shocked by that. I thought you would have had a higher, but okay. 12, 10, 10, 10, 9.75, 20. Ma'am, that math don't work. I don't think that worked, but we're going to give you a 10. 10, 10, 10, 10, another 10 with the bad math. 10, 9.25, 10, 10, 10. Hold on, let's get some more. 10, 10, 10, 9, 9.4, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 9.75, and 10. All right, guys, I think the 10s have got it. I think this might be it. I think we're here. My man Jordan coming through 10 out of 10 and no feints. No feints given. Yeah, listen, they almost did. You saw Jean almost. She almost did. She almost did it. She caught herself. So shout out to her. Thank you so much, Jordan. Good to see you again, man. Thank you so much for that. All right, guys, that is all I have. I gave y'all theories. We did a breakdown. We went through all of this stuff. We got our ratings. Woo! I'm tired. Listen, but this episode needed this. We had to go through this one. This was woo. All right. I think that's all for today. Do we have anything else to talk about? Oh, you know what? Let me if y'all will indulge me, just real quick. And before y'all leave, make sure we'll be back here next Wednesday, 7:00 p.m. Central Standard Time, talking about episode 6. Just so you have a heads up, episode 6 is going to talk about Storm and Forge. We will go over that situation. But I did want to bring this up just one more time because I felt like, some people might have missed the boat on this. And it goes back to that whole Silver Surfer thing. The whole we are getting a female Silver Surfer, but I want to give y'all a couple reasons why some people, because I've seen the comments, I want to just talk about why some people don't need to overreact over this. First of all, there's a very good chance that it's taking place in another universe. We already saw evidence that maybe that this is a futuristic city, but it's in the 1960s, whatever. It's probably in another universe, right? At the same time, Deadpool 3, we don't know the plot of Deadpool 3. And if you are one of those people that was very worried about the obvious flaws and missteps of the MCU not being all that great lately, guess what? Marvel already knows that. Literally in the trailer that we saw with Deadpool, he made a whole joke about how he's going to be the Marvel Jesus and save the MCU. So I'm just saying, I don't know if he's actually going to save the MCU, but maybe we should just wait and see whether or not he can do that. Another point, because we don't know the plot of Deadpool, we don't know if maybe at the end of the Fantastic Four movie, he comes in and, I don't know, saves the Fantastic Four and brings them into the main universe. We did see Deadpool save and fix all these other problems in his own movies, in Deadpool 2. Who's to say that he won't do kind of something similar moving forward, right? I don't know. And last but not least, let's also not forget, especially when it comes to the comics, there's a huge possibility that you might actually get a reboot of the MCU after Secret Wars, meaning whatever happens before Secret Wars is not something to get worked up over, especially if they might wipe it all away and start all over. So I saw a lot of people just really getting worked up, and I'm done with the Marvels. I'm done. A lot of people's was with the crazies. And I'm just like, listen, y'all, chill out. That's all. I just want y'all to chill out and be cool. All right, don't stress. It's okay. Okay, there's a lot of things that could happen still before we just go having a whole outrage and stress and all that stuff. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with your boy. I really appreciate you. Like I said, we'll be back here next Wednesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time to talk about Xmen episode 6. And of course, we'll be here on Friday to talk about the news from the week. I think I got some things I reviewed, or at least I got a review for you guys. So we'll go over all that. But in the meantime, have a great rest of your week. If I don't see you, you know the routine. Wash your hands, wipe your butts, all of that good stuff. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.